You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Nice. Different than I thought it would be.
Hey, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to the first after show for ABC's Secrets and Lies. Woo-hoo. Tonight we're recapping episode 1, The Trail, and episode 2, The Father. And this is the first ever podcast for the show, so we want to know what you guys thought. But before we dive into it, be sure you guys subscribe to AfterBuzz on YouTube, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Follow us on Twitter. Find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, you name it. We want to talk to you guys throughout the week. I'm Lauren Salaun, your host for the evening, and you can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun. And to my left, I've got...
Hey guys, I'm Sterling Cates, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates.
Hey y'all, I'm April Whisenhant. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
Hi, Chelsea Briche. I am on Twitter and Instagram at CBriche.
All right. So what did you guys think about these first 2 episodes? I know it was a full-on, 90 minutes, 2 hours worth of watching.
Yeah, it feels like we watched a movie. We were just talking about that. It's definitely very Gone Girly. I really like it, though.
I really liked it too. The plot was a lot more confusing than I thought it would be, but in a good way, because I thought oh, maybe this will be a show where we'll kind of know off the bat, but I found myself thinking oh, I bet it's her, oh, I bet it's him the whole time.
Right.
So I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it was off to maybe a little slower start, but then I kind of swallowed my own words, because then they already, we've already seen just a little bit of it, and they've thrown a lot our way. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I was going to say they covered so much, and we learned so much about all the different characters. So I was wondering how they would keep this up for, seasons and seasons to come. But it seems like there is a lot more that we don't know.
Yeah, we've got some juicy stuff going on.
Yeah. Definitely. And I agree that I felt like it started a little slower, but as it got going, there was some juicy moments for sure.
And Juliette Lewis's harsh
death
side eyes.
She had the same face the entire
time.
Can you imagine just be making coffee in your kitchen and she's just standing there staring
Seriously,
in the kitchen?
so
That would
creepy.
be the most terrifying thing
So
ever.
creepy. So why don't we dive into the characters and the cast? So we've got Ryan Phillippe, who plays our lead, Ben Crawford, who, as we saw, is basically being accused of murdering Tom, the neighbor boy. And what did you guys think of Ryan's performance?
I really liked him in this, and I mean, he's not, hard to look at for the majority.
They gave us a few shirtless shots, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was great, and I thought he played every, the scenes very well. I don't know. I
mean, I think it's cool that he's kind of back on the radar. We haven't really seen him, especially on TV, so I think he was great.
Yeah, lots of anticipation, I think, for seeing what
and it's a
what he's
great
been working
name
on.
to have on the show. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of viewers in for them, too.
Yeah, which next up brings us to Juliette Lewis, who's our second huge name in the show, and she plays Detective Cornell, who is such a hard ass, and like we just said, has one look, and it's mean, staring daggers through you. And she was so intense, and I hope she'll kind of show a different side of her as the series goes on, but I do like that we get to see a whole other side of Juliette than we normally see her playing.
I don't want to prejudge it, obviously, because it's the first, 2 episodes, but she was a little too intense for my liking.
I can't stand her already,
I think it's because she wants to, go ahead and just full force prove that she can do a dramatic acting role, but it was a little too much.
Yeah, it was very one-sided, so hopefully there's a reason why she's so one-sided. Maybe she's trying to hide something.
It was very over the top for me, for her. And I don't know, you know, it just didn't seem very realistic that right out of the gate she would 100% know he did it or know something about it.
Right.
I don't know. It's just like there were no other options for her. So maybe there's something behind her story that makes her want it to be him. I don't know. It was just
I
very
did notice at one point when they're at the crime scene and he says something to her like, well, obviously you're not a parent, you know, and she gets this kind of look on her face. So I was like, ooh, maybe there's something to that, and that's why she's in this line of work, or something happened. I don't know. Who knows if we'll go that deep.
Well, she is very obviously really good at her job, and it just surprises me that she hasn't been able to find Scott. Like, there's 100% chance that I feel like there's something weird about that.
The whole thing is so fishy. But even how we, like, when the show is going on, I mean, I just don't think that the detectives are like that in real life.
Yeah.
You know, she's so forceful and just kind of sticking things down his throat in a way. And, you know, like we said, just showing up while he's making coffee. Like, I've never been in a situation like that, but I just don't think that's really
realistic.
Yeah.
Well, and even if, because she keeps saying, she's like, it's the murder of a child, like, of course we're going to go full force with it. So I get if he's a suspect, then, you know, you are going to try and, like, trick him in the little ways that she's trying to do. But also, it's the murder of a child. So why not look into this man who is clearly has a history of violence and has done all these crazy things, and she hasn't even tried to go after him.
And something I think is really interesting about the show, which helps keep it mysterious for us, is that we only see it from Ben's perspective. So we're not seeing from other characters' perspectives. So we don't get to be like a few steps ahead of him or really get more insight than what he knows. So we don't know if what else could be going on, really.
So many secrets and lies.
Secrets and lies. There we go. Next up, we've got KaDee Strickland, who plays Christy Crawford, Ben's wife. And as we saw, there is some tension going on between the two of them.
A little trouble in paradise.
Things are rocky.
Paradise is a strange.
Here's the thing. I get why she is having him sleep on the couch. I mean, I would have kicked him out as well. And, you know, I wouldn't want him in my bed either. But this brings a whole other ingredient in, you know, which I'm sure she doesn't even know how to handle. But at the same time, there is zero support from her. Obviously, her husband is going through something that he rightfully so doesn't know how to navigate. And, you know, not only is there no support, I feel like she's kind of throwing him under the bus a little bit. You know, she's not even thinking, or she let out the clue about the flashlight. You know, like, oh, didn't you get that for your birthday?
We have one.
Yeah, we definitely have one. Or like, yeah, I let these 15 policemen into the house. Or there just kind of seems no protection. And I think maybe that's why when she asks him things, he blatantly lies to her. You know, like, oh, that was the wrong number on the phone, or I don't know, but
I don't think he should continue to lie to her, especially since she just found out that he had an affair, you know, with the neighbor. But at the end of the day, like, he is under this, like, huge investigation now, and she's just not supportive at all, and is kind of, you know, giving him to Detective Cornell.
Like, here, like, I'm going to feed you to the wolves, like, see you at dinner.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things is that he probably wants to hear her say, I believe that you didn't kill Tom. And every time he says, I didn't do it, or Jess believes me that I didn't do it, she's like,
blank face.
She just is like, oh, okay, I got to go to work.
She hasn't said anything.
I was kind of just thinking about this. It's kind of weird, fishy timing that it seems like he just told her that he had an affair with
the wound seems really fresh.
But at the same time, I feel like it doesn't, because she was like, oh, well, he knows, you know, that you slept together. Like, that didn't seem like a big deal when she said it.
That's true.
But
it seems fresh-ish, I guess.
Something is fresh.
Because so if the affair was 6 years ago, there's no way that he would still be sleeping on the couch for the past 6 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
but
like,
who knows why he's sleeping on the couch right now?
Yeah, I assumed that they got in a fight because he told her that night, and that's why he went out drinking. And slept on the couch. Like, I think he had just told her the night before.
That's what
but that's what I'm saying. It's so fresh. Like, why?
It's just weird.
Isn't it a weird coincidence?
It is.
That he would tell her, and then the next morning, the kid's dead.
I feel like she knew before that. Because when she said it, when they were in the bathroom about when she was cleaning up his wounds from getting in a fight with Scott, you know, she's like, oh, did he found out you slept with Jess? Like, she was like, oh, well, he must have found out by now.
But she's still asking him questions. She's still saying, like, was it just the one time?
Tell me when it was.
So I I don't know. I think it's fresh-ish. Even if it wasn't that night that we're kind of originally thinking it was, I feel like it's something new. So that just, I think it'll come up.
But either way, it sounds like they've been having problems for a while. Right. If when he did sleep with Jess 5, 6 years ago, whenever that was, that it was after they had a big fight, and they're still having big fights. You know, that's been like 5 years of having a lot of problems.
Yeah. I'm just gonna call her Crazy Christy though.
Yeah,
she's a little crazy.
She gives that vibe to me where I'm like, I don't know, I could just see her doing something crazy. Not to, you know, immediately go there, but I think she's just the way she acts about it, not even with how she's like nonchalant, but just with how she's just at the weirdest moments she gets intense and emotional. And there's just something off about her.
It's just kind of weird to me because I get why she's upset. Obviously, we all do. Like, you should never be cheated on by your husband. Right. But she just doesn't seem affected, really, that Tom's dead. You know, like, she's never,
the whole
like...
thing. Yeah. Or, like, that her girls are... Like, even as a mom, I'm sure, like, you want to make sure that your kids are okay. And at no point does she seem really, like, loving or nurturing or just so overbearing to make sure that everyone in her family's okay. You know, she's just always like, go upstairs, go inside. And like that's kind of all that we see her be as a mom.
Yeah, she's very like stone-faced and just kind of pissed off all the time.
Interesting.
She was kind of that way on Private Practice too. I don't know if you watched that show. But it was her larger show, but she was that was her character. She was the like tough and stone cold kind of lady.
But she was on what was that other show? Oh, I forget the name. So anyway, next we've got Jess Murphy, played by Natalie Martinez, who is Tom's mom and the neighbor, and who Ben had the affair with. And I like her character. I mean, we didn't see a ton of it. She's like mourning her son's death, which is unimaginable. But she did that night when she and Ben are, you know, she calls him over to console her, which, you know, she shouldn't have done that. Come on, call your sister or something. But she breaks it to him that she thinks Scott is.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the police weren't making a bigger deal about her confessing about Scott being violent and that whole thing. But also, I'm also surprised we didn't get to know more about her.
Right.
Just because she is such an important part of this.
Yeah. They probably just wanted to focus on Ben tonight because he is the focus of it. But I hope we learn a lot more about her soon because clearly there's something, I forget who said it, but like whenever they see each other out in the woods, like they focused on her hand making a fist. Like there's something more than
she's not
just...
going away. I mean, I think definitely the show's going to be based, we'll probably learn a ton about her. You know, we can't go on any more episodes and not really have any questions.
Well, when, like April, like you said, when they did that close-up of her hand fist up when she said, I know who did it, that was kind of suspicious on her part, but then we find out later that she knows it was Scott, or she like strongly believes that. Right. So I'm surprised that that's not out there more, that he's not a suspect.
That's why the whole thing is over the top suspicious and I think like totally framed in a sense because even if she has that video, like if she shows that video to the police, I mean that's terrifying and that gives them all the reason to then go look at this man, who might have PTSD, whatever it may be, and is going bonkers on his wife. Like why wouldn't they go to him as opposed to
And then even when Ben is later in the episode when he's defending, comes and basically rescues Jess from Scott, then Detective Cornell is even saying, like blaming it on Ben.
Like that is just you went in there.
Like that he has a violent history and that, like he abuses her and you're, saying that Ben shouldn't have attacked him when he was attacking Jess. Like,
it definitely seems like they have enough evidence against Scott as they do against Ben, and that they should be totally looking into him too, especially based on that cell phone video she has. That's nuts. Yeah, he's crazy. So, some of the big moments that we saw this episode were the first one being, I think, the flashlight, when she comes and says, okay, do you have any of these models of flashlights, And
Chrissy's like, oh yeah, he has that one.
Yeah, come on.
And
but did you see the look he gave her? Like,
oh shoot,
joking. Yeah.
And so they, go look at his tools, and sure enough, just as we expected, the flashlight's not there, which later we find out that, the exact make and model, they figured out the exact make and model of whatever flashlight bludgeoned Tom to death, which she didn't say, did she, if it was his exact
They never
flashlight?
said.
No.
She said, we figured it out.
And then he got upset and they didn't continue the conversation. So we don't know if it was.
I feel like it was a really genuine reaction when the flashlight wasn't in his car. Like, he seemed genuinely confused.
Yeah, because he kept looking for it in other places.
Like, obviously it should be in this place and it's not. So that's why I'm kind of starting to think that it's, you know, all fingers are purposely pointing at him.
Right.
You know, in more of a framing way, because he wasn't like, oh, it's not here, you know? Like,
I wonder where it could be.
Like, that's weird.
Do you think that Christy, when she said, oh, you got that for your birthday a few years ago or whatever it was, do you think she was coming from a place of, oh, yeah, like, he definitely has a flashlight, like, blah, 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 like, innocently?
No.
Or do you think it was, like, she knew it wasn't going to be there?
Oh, I think it was
I don't know about her yet.
I don't know.
Crazy Christy. I think she is almost, I kept getting the vibe that she's like getting back at him. Like, not to say that she's framing him, maybe she is, but I felt like, oh, let me like hurt you because you hurt me. So little things that maybe wouldn't matter, she wouldn't necessarily know. I mean, that's stretching, or reaching, I should say, but I don't know. I felt like she's like, let me kind of like jab you as you jabbed me.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like him cheating on her versus there being a child that's dead, and that like she can't like get back at him, you know, like to set him up for murder.
Right. Ha,
like that's not the same. Yeah, that's not the same level at all.
And if it is, then she really is crazy. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. My gut says that she was just doing it to be helpful because, you know, I would imagine if you're innocent in a situation like that, you want to be as helpful as possible and be like, look at everything. Clear me of this.
Right.
Yeah. But then, of course, when it's not there, that's kind of sketchy.
Right. Well, and there's the part where she just let them into the house to search, you know, the whole thing, and the daughters
and then she's
are
like,
there.
I have to go to work.
And she's like, I've got to go. Like, this isn't important.
Like, you have policemen tearing your house upside down.
I have an early showing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no matter what's going on, I would hope if you're in that situation, and even if you and your spouse are fighting so much, that you'd at least like make some of those decisions together.
Right.
Yeah. You're not just like, sure. See ya.
Clearly, they don't make any big decisions together, as we see at the end, you know? So
it's surprising to me that she always called the lawyer to go and be with Ben when he's at the police station, but then she just like lets the police in without like a warrant or contacting the lawyer.
She's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good
and speaking of the lawyer, he does a lot of divorce stuff. So I'm wondering if they were on that path before, and that's why they know him, or he's like a family friend or something.
Yeah, they didn't say.
I wasn't totally sure, but I'm sure we'll find out later.
Yes.
So anyway, flashlight, murder weapon. Maybe it was his, maybe it wasn't. We're not sure. The biggest, bomb that was dropped in these two episodes was that Ben is the biological father of Tom.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all
he initially, they ask him to supply his DNA to rule him out or see if he's the guy, essentially, and he says no because the lawyer Danny, I think that was his name, Danny advises him not to.
Right.
And then he comes in later. He's like, okay, this is enough. The press are just hounding him and his family, harassing them. So he goes in to kind of clear his name. Oops, and then finds out that he's the biological father, which is insane. And of course, when it's with somebody he had an affair with, that kind of gives him motive to maybe kill the kid.
Right.
Which is definitely what they're thinking. So,
but he took that lie detector test, and I feel like the answer, whenever he said if he knew before, if he knew that Tom was his son before, he said no, and I feel like that was true.
I feel like he genuinely didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely
I definitely
seemed
don't think he knew.
Do you think Jess knew at all? She said she didn't, but there's probably like some shadow of a doubt there.
I don't think she was in the dark as he was. Or she might have thought about it, She might have not had like a hardcore paternity test, but I think maybe in her quiet moment she was kind of like,
could it
be? Yeah, could it be doing some math? Yeah, because if he was at war,
that's what I'm thinking. Like her husband's in the army and he was overseas all the time.
And so that might
easily do that math if he's not around.
Scott knows.
Yeah.
And so,
he's like, I just got back and now there's a kid, like, that's why he's so angry.
I wasn't here 9 months ago. What?
Yeah, yikes. You'd have to figure out how to cheat, really calculate that out if you're going to do that.
It's all about
someone overseas.
Keep that in mind,
Yeah. I have a feeling that the polygraph, though, is going to come back. I felt like her Cornell's response when he came out and the lawyer's like, hey, we offered up to do this. You have to give us the results. And she's like, oh, it was inconclusive. And she just kind of dismisses it. I feel like something from that is going to come up later.
And
Well,
he did lie in it.
Or the fact that he lied, yes.
When they were like, have you ever lied to Detective Cornell or whatever? And I'm like, say yes. Because he did lie about the cab.
Yeah.
You know?
But he didn't know that he was lying. So
Yeah,
maybe
but
that's
he
why-
Did
But
he
he
tried the
did.
polygraph?
Yeah.
He did because he had already talked to.
Yeah.
I mean, he originally didn't know, so maybe that's why he said he didn't lie, because he's like, well, I didn't mean it as a lie. But no, I think he just should have said yes, too.
But him saying in the woods when they were talking that he definitely took a cab together with the person, like, he actually didn't know for sure.
Right.
So him saying yes is a lie. So and he knew that.
I don't know why he's not saying more about how he didn't know. I mean, I guess that kind of puts a little bit of suspicion on
Yeah,
him,
because I guess I
obviously.
feel like I have no idea. Like, I don't remember.
yeah,
Then they're
don't-
like, how do you remember, you know?
It's like, at least don't give such definite answers, though.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is going to come back and bite him when they're like, but you said yes. And he's like, well, I didn't remember. I mean, it's all going to come back on him.
And I mean, it seems like we're not very suspicious of Ben at all, but it is kind of weird that, you know, he was blackout drunk at 3 a.m. and then 2 hours later he's like jogging through the woods.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I
if you
can't
go out,
move.
have a good time, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that's like physically possible.
Right.
How did she not know? They even say at one point that
She didn't know the
Jess
son
didn't
was
know he was
missing.
missing. How did she not know that her son was gone? I mean, I guess it was the middle of the
middle of the
night,
night.
but I mean, hopefully we'll learn more about that soon. How he like what time?
I didn't think about that then. How? So someone took him from
his
the
house. It was
house
not like he
into
wandered
the
off at
woods.
nighttime.
Yeah.
So if he was at a bar, then oh gosh,
And the
I don't
only
know.
other
I'm
key
starting to
out
think
there
too
is the
much.
one that Natalie, the daughter, has
Right.
access to get into Jess's house. But she's been hanging out with Scott, so it's like, you know.
Yeah, it's all such a
on too.
perfect, like,
It is.
pointing
The
all
cross
to
is-
Ben,
yeah.
you know, which makes
Yeah.
it very convenient, which, you know, we're all supposed to expect that he is the good guy and that he didn't do it, which I'm assuming is going to be how it goes,
Yeah.
but it's definitely going to get really close to it, I think, with him. And as we saw kind of at the end when they show what's happening next week, it looks like he potentially gets arrested. So maybe they
At some
Oh
point.
yeah, I think
Something
this is
else.
going way downhill for him for
for a
long
while.
time.
Yeah, if not the whole season.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, and in the preview, they have, I guess we'll talk about this more in predictions, but they have that shot of him, like, throwing something in the river.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know why I
Find the
didn't see that.
flashlight.
Well,
Maybe.
then the lawyer's like, they have this for you, hiding
Destroying
evidence.
evidence,
Yeah,
Oh dear, Ben,
see.
get it together.
Yeah.
All right. I also want to talk about Dave, his friend, brother, who we don't
Dude, Dave
totally
is
know who
the
Dave
man,
is.
apparently.
yeah, he
Like,
is lucky with
Hooking
the
up left
ladies.
and right.
Dave's bringing home girls every night, and he does get a scolding from Ben. You know, not in front of the girls. Come on, the girls are living here. But it sounds like Ben's either one of their brothers or a good friend or something, and they're kind of helping him get back on his feet. But he seems like such a partier. And he's kind of the comic relief of the show, if there really is any. There isn't a whole lot, but he kind of lightens it when he and Ben have those little heart-to-heart moments. But I can't help but be a little suspicious of him. I know that
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
suspicious
I mean-
of everybody. Yes!
No character is there for no reason. I
Yeah.
feel like in the
Yeah.
show, so he has to play a part other than comic relief. In my mind.
I don't know. I just wasn't really suspicious of him at all. He just
See, I
seemed
wasn't
so
either.
out of it. Like, he just didn't even know
Right,
anything
but
that was going on.
I feel like he's like in a sketchy crowd or something. Like,
Well,
and
and
because he remembered stuff from the night and Ben
Yeah,
didn't. So
that's true.
I feel like Ben got roofied or something happened to be
see,
able to
that's what
point it all to him.
Something was really weird, like how he just remembers.
He's like, oh, you don't remember anything?
Yeah.
Weird, I do.
yeah.
But, like, that girl was with him, though, and we even saw her leaving the next morning. So, you mean, like, suspicious about...
Like,
Just
why
him
Ben
being
was so
involved.
drunk?
Why didn't he tell Ben that he knew he went in a cab by himself?
Yeah, that is weird.
Because he was, I mean, clearly, like, when you are drunk and you are telling your friend, like, I don't remember anything, they're not, like, if they remember
You're like,
details,
here, let
they
me
tell
help you piece it
details.
together. So
Right.
I was trying to get home with this boy, so I put, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and he didn't do
Yeah,
that.
he didn't specify for him. He's
Okay.
like, yeah, we took a cab. And he's like, I took a cab by myself and then you took a cab later, kind of a different thing.
Yeah. But also, I think that's like male communication. Like, I don't think, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wasn't right off the bat.
Cabs? I don't know.
He also didn't ever say what exactly he told Detective Cornell. He just was like, oh, yeah, she was weird. He never said, I said we weren't together or we weren't together. So that was kind of weird that he wasn't specific with that.
I feel like he's flying under the radar because he's kind of the silly goofball of the show, but
and also he makes it seem like
him.
what's going on isn't a huge deal.
Yeah,
like every time they talk about it, they're always like, oh yeah.
Yeah, every day a different girl's like doing the walk of shame out of the house.
He's not
Come on, buddy.
with anything that's going on in the neighborhood, apparently.
No, he's not.
Goodness.
I was just thinking about, oh my gosh, what's the oldest daughter's name? Natalie and Scott and their secret little thing. So while we're throwing out suspicions on random people, I don't know. Something about that is really suspicious. I mean, we find out that she was meeting with Scott, but just to get a star for him to put on Tom's grave. But something about that
I
is
really
weird.
did think for a second that they were like in this
too.
relationship.
Oh, I did
and
too.
I was like, oh, we are not going down this path.
Well, they could be. I mean, she's not going to just like come out and say that to her parents. But I mean, they're very well. There's something that's there that keeps her so loyal to Scott.
Right. Because why, as an
Versus
old
her
man,
dad.
totally,
Yeah.
or not an old man, but do you know what I mean? Like she's what, in high school?
Yeah.
Like why is he? You know,
Why are
The
they
way
talking
they
on the
on
phone?
her?
The way they
texting
spoke
and
on the
stuff?
phone was not a friendly, like, oh, of course I'll do this for you because this is your son. It was a very, like...
Yeah, he was like,
I don't
Matt,
know.
you there? Hello? Like, even when Ben called.
And why do you have to so secretly like grace in your hand to give her this cross?
And if he's innocent, why is he on the run? I know something. You know?
Because she doesn't
Restraining order.
Yeah.
But
Jess doesn't want him near anything.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, if he's innocent, though, why hasn't he come forward to
the
be
police.
a part of it, or to help out, or to eliminate
Isn't a
himself?
restraining order just like 100 feet or something?
I think so.
Like, he could go to the police
I'm
station.
not an expert in those, but I think it's
He could
something
go to
around
the
there.
police station and be concerned that his son's dead. Like, he could definitely, I don't think that.
But it is weird that he's been totally absent from the whole thing, aside from coming in to like beat people up.
And then he was trying to go to Jess's at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
when Ben ran
And
out?
he was out there, yeah.
When that initially happened, I thought that Natalie, the daughter, was sneaking out to go meet with somebody.
Maybe she
Initially.
was.
Maybe she was.
So maybe
just
she,
ran
and
out
it
there
turns out to be
before.
him. Maybe she was sneaking out to meet
If
him.
so, though, maybe, I don't know, because, I mean, I don't know if, I've never snuck out before, but...
I usually just walked out of my house when I wanted to go somewhere. I was
But
like,
the
"Bye."
person picking you up typically doesn't like rev their engine and drive a really loud. I mean, maybe he only drives a motorcycle, but like a rookie mistake. If she
Right,
was
it did seem like he
sneaking
was
out,
trying
so
to like get some attention or something.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just trying to scare him, honestly. Just because he knew what was going on and he's not allowed to talk to them, so let me just... I mean, that's scary, like when you know someone who is dangerous and violent, like is kind of creeping past your house at 3 a.m.
That makes me feel really scared. Like right now, I feel
Right,
very.
like, I'm gonna go home and be like, every noise that I hear, I'm just gonna be like,
Knowing Scott's out there somewhere, I'm just terrified.
Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, so we find out he's just giving her his like silver star or whatever from the army to put on Tom's grave, which okay.
but why isn't he going to the funeral?
Yeah.
She won't let him. Just won't
There's
let him.
restraining order. I'm assuming.
That
Oh,
at
right,
that
what I just
with
said.
that
Oh, you just told me that information I got from you.
I would think that you'd like put some sort of like special circumstance in place, even if you have the restraining order against him when your
But I
son
guess at the
dies.
same time, if she thinks that he's the murderer, which he very
That's
well
true.
could be, like I don't know. I mean,
If she thinks he's the murderer, she like should want him to like come around, so they can get him.
Yeah.
Right?
They're purposefully not
She
going
shouldn't
after
just-
them.
yeah,
it
at
seems
all.
like.
And but no one, I like you just said, everyone I feel like is taking this really
Lightly.
so lightly. Like besides
On Ben. Yeah.
and like some neighbors who clearly don't
Very
like him.
They're just judgmental.
So
I don't
judgy,
think they're
which is
actually
fine. But
affected.
this whole thing is really kind of like little drama in the neighborhood. Like, no, this little kid just was murdered, Mm-hmm. And it's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, Jess isn't running to the police, like, look at this video, like, I have this, and this, like, I'll lure him to my house to get him, No one's, like, actively trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I'm just stumped on this.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that Scott's going to be we're definitely
He's
going
got
to
to
see
be.
more of him.
Yeah. And especially when he breaks into the house at the end, Like, you know, we gotta get this guy. People.
So creepy. I thought that I thought that was like a dream.
Oh, I think it's real.
Yeah, it was real.
Yeah, it was real.
Yeah.
And
But why
he
not
said,
call
you
the
messed with my
police?
family.
Maybe he does end up calling the police because that was the very end of the episode.
cut
But if
right
someone
then.
breaks into my house, then like
It's
911
like
is
staring over me while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, let alone threatening to kill you. I mean,
I wonder if Jess told the police that she had a feeling that, or knew that Scott was still around, lingering somewhere because of the soldier toy and all of that stuff. Like, I feel like that's all very important information that he's been violating the restraining order this whole time.
but why hasn't she said anything in the past?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Like, I'd be terrified knowing that someone, you know, she's like, I know that he's here.
Yeah, she's like, I've had a feeling that he's here, but we
Right.
just kept
She's like,
living
look
day
at
to
this
day.
video. Like, what? This
Dang.
is serious stuff.
Well, now we know it's through Natalie, though. Is how he's been getting him these toys.
Yeah, which, I mean, I know when you're 16 years old, you make a lot of questionable decisions and stuff, but that girl, come on. When she's babysitting this kid, she lets the restraining order violent dad
that's
come
weird
around and is
how
like,
she feels like
I'm
it's her.
babysitting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm babysitting. Come on.
That's
come
why I
see
think
him.
there's something
Oh,
more there with her.
She loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gotta be.
it's got a little crush on him probably.
There's more going on with
Okay,
that girl.
wait, but why does Jess's sister hate Ben so much?
Everyone does.
Everyone hates him so much. I don't get it.
Oh, maybe because
you
I'm
think she
sure she knows
knows?
about the affair.
I'm sure
so.
yeah.
And I think Jess probably has some feelings, clearly, because whenever Ben goes over there later to help her pick out stuff for the funeral, she tries to make a move.
know.
And I
But
think,
I don't know if the sister that gives her reason to hate him.
well, maybe just because she's like, you did this and my sister loves you, but you're still with your wife. I don't know.
Maybe, like, probably when it happened 6 years ago or whatever, Jess told her sister about it because if they're close, then she probably tells
Right.
everything to her, and then that's kind of when everything fell apart. So it's probably she blames Ben for all of that, probably.
Maybe. Okay.
Good
Yeah,
point.
definitely. But how like the media is playing it out, they're definitely positioning him as a bad guy. So
Can we
everyone's
talk about the
getting
media
suspicious.
for a second?
Yeah.
It is
That is
definitely
not allowed.
legal
No.
for them to be all up on their property like that.
But that's
also,
like
all the
so
time.
how it happens, which is the thing. Like I don't know for real if that's how it happens, like in real life, but that's how like a story, the one thing can like catch fire so quickly that isn't necessarily true. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all seen like the media takes it and runs with
Totally.
it.
Yeah.
My problem is
think-
just that they're on his property and like
Right.
right in front of his front door.
Well, and all up on his like kids, like
Yeah.
including the kids and all that stuff. Now I see why Kanye West is like trying to get the paparazzi away from kids.
Like, I don't think you can do
makes
that.
sense.
Like,
No.
Well,
Not
it
in their-
seems like when they're in the street, it's fair game because
Totally.
they kind of stay off the
Well, that's
sidewalk.
public property or
Yeah.
But the
government.
second he's walks out of the house with his kids, they're running up to the porch.
Yeah,
And you can't
and
do
they're
that
like
in real
taking
life.
I
pictures
don't think
through
so.
the windows,
right.
and yeah.
I think you can do that. Well,
Can you do that? That's
No,
terrifying.
because that's like being a
need a
peeping
rule
Tom,
book.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not legal.
that's true.
Even if you're with the news, I
need
feel
to
like
go
you
to
still
law
can't
school.
do that.
you can take it. I
BRB,
think
we gotta go to school.
We need a lawyer to come on the show.
the rule is you can take it if it's like if you're on public property, if it's openly
If it's
visible.
visible.
And so
Okay.
the fact that his blinds were open, that's openly visible. It's not like they were using. Well, they had some sort of special camera, but they weren't having to use the like long zoom
Like
camera.
telephoto lens.
Well, he was like
Yeah.
climbed up over the fence. It was like the backyard.
Yeah,
Like I,
I
feel
mean,
like they have a big.
But I guess
don't know.
like if
It's
you
a
if
big
you can
logistics.
Paparazzi's are like hanging in trees, you know.
Yeah.
right.
So
I mean, if you can
Logistics, they
jump
probably-
up there and snap the photo and run away,
Yeah.
who cares if it's legal? I guess, but
yeah.
Being
Yeah.
on his lawn is definitely not legal, though.
No.
Think back to all of like the the real life stories. I watched something on Scott Peterson the other day, but if y'all remember that. But they definitely you can't do that. I mean, you can get like on their car once they're in the street, but
You
I
can
don't
get
know.
on their car.
Not on their car, but you can be like right up on them. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna like
Yeah.
hit it and whatever anyway. But I don't know. Maybe they'll change that. Oh, they probably won't.
yeah, it's scary.
It makes
I know,
it so much more dramatic. I mean, I get it. It
Exactly.
makes for better TV, you
right?
know?
And they're so on edge, and with the
Yeah.
the media right there in their face, they're like, they're gonna say something angrily or do something or
Yeah.
kind of crack in some way. Which I was so surprised when the media found out that. So when Cornell is calling Ben, and she's pretty much gonna say, hey, the media found out that Tom's your son, just wanted to give you a heads up. And he ignores her calls, and then they get in the car and they're going to the funeral, and all the media is like hounding them. come on, in a real situation, one of those reporters is going to be like, hey, Christy, how do you feel about your dad having, or your husband having an illegitimate child? You know, they're going to spill the beans to get that reaction.
Like, Ben, did you know you were the father? Like, stuff like that would be totally
So I was so surprised they didn't.
When she came to the house later, she said, we're putting it off as long as we can or whatever, but it could be released any moment. So she made it seem like it hadn't been released yet, but they did have the information.
But here's the big question. Was that really leaked? Or, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know?
I think
that's a little spishy.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if police try and keep certain things from the press because they want only people in the department to know about it, but then if she's starting to think, well, obviously she thinks it's him, or her actions say that she thinks it's him, then maybe she just wants more people to know and to just paint him as even more of a villain, because it's like, oh, he did have a reason, and so maybe all
I don't get why she is just on his case the whole time.
And why does that give him more of a reason if it's his own son?
Yeah. But she was also seemingly trying to do him a favor, though, by calling him and telling him.
Yeah, it did see. I did.
I don't think it was her that leaked it, but that's too sketchy just to be like, oh, sorry. Yeah. This little fact that's going to ruin your entire life.
We just, people know about it.
Right.
Whatever.
I don't know. That was weird to me.
Yeah, very suspicious. But you just said, Chelsea, that it is kind of the first time that she's been, or no, April, that like the first time that she's actually been kind of nice to him, which is, and nice is a stretch, with it, which is suspicious, but like
maybe that's true.
It's kind of cool to see that she's giving him a heads up on that, but.
Yeah, well, she knew that he hadn't talked to Christy yet.
Right.
Yeah.
My only thing is the only other person that knew was that, was it Danny, the first lawyer? The divorce lawyer. Mm-hmm. He knew about it, but he's not, like, signed on to the case. There's not, like, client confidentiality there. He seemed pretty close with Christy. I don't know if he would, like, if that could be a source of the leak at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we can't trust anyone right now.
No, be trusted.
Oh, yeah. So at the funeral, I thought it was a little interesting that when Ben turns around and says hi to the kid who's using the iPad to kind of like communicate or something and says like, I want Tyler or whatever.
Who's Tyler?
It's like, oh, is Tyler back yet? Which, so maybe older brother of that kid or whatever. So I feel like that, with this show and being such a mystery, crime thriller as it is, I feel like every little thing is intentional and done on purpose. So I wonder if that's something that later we'll see.
Yeah, and the mom was just like, oh, no, he's mistaken.
Yeah.
Fishy.
Fishy. Exactly.
Maybe fishy. Tyler did it.
The whole show is fishy.
Maybe it was Tyler.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
it's definitely Tyler.
It's Tyler.
Show's over. We know the answer.
Yeah. We also learn at the end of the 2 episodes that their big fight 5 years ago, when that kind of spurred Ben into going to cheat on Christy, was right after Christy had a procedure, aka an abortion, which was that's like a big
it was an abortion that she did on her own without talking to him about it.
They had talked about it and had that kind of as an option, and then she just decided to go forward with it.
Right, and that's just not something that, like, she's just not going to buy eggs. Like, they need to talk about it. And I mean, is the answer running to your neighbor to go sleep with her? No.
Of course not.
But, like, obviously there's huge issues there. And, again, I feel like probably in the family, all the bad fingers are going to be pointed, unfortunately, to him. But, like, I'm sure that the girls know or the neighbors don't know. The media's not going to know that she just ran off and did this without talking to her husband about it.
Yeah.
So.
And she kind of played it off like, oh my gosh, right after my procedure. And it's like it's a procedure he didn't want you to have.
Yeah.
So like,
and you did that yourself. She totally just pulled that card, and then, she's like, at least you got the son you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I thought
all
initially,
right, crazy Christy, let's ease it.
I thought they had a miscarriage or something,
I
and I was like, that
yeah.
sucks. But then it's like, oh, no, you're like 2 parents who you just decided to go have an abortion because it wasn't super convenient. Like,
Right.
come on.
Yeah. Well, she did say that it wasn't best for her. Maybe, like, there's some sort of, like, health reason there.
Right.
I mean, I hope there, wasn't. And maybe it wasn't, like, healthy for her to have a baby, and so that's why she decided.
And
it's
also,
just not that she didn't want one.
We see in the 2 episodes that she is very much a breadwinner in the family, and the primary breadwinner, because he ends up getting fired from one of his big jobs, and then he's calling all these places places to try and get more painting jobs, and no one will take him because of what's going on. So she's the one who's making all the money. So I don't know if that was a big pressure. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think they have too many issues for it to just be super easy for us to answer any of these questions.
Well, it very much seems that she's ready to end the marriage, because even she said, I'm just not the same person I was when I was 19. I don't think you are either. So it doesn't seem like she's willing to fight for it. And she kind of feels like this case is an inconvenience for her divorce. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like she just wanted to sign the papers and get going on with her pretty little, picket fence life, and how inconvenient that now her husband is messing up again and is, a suspect in a murder.
I really hope he doesn't do it, because we're like, I know so much right now. I really hope he didn't do it.
They might be making us feel that way on purpose, just
right. And then all of a sudden they just
Then he's throwing flashlights off the bridge in 2 episodes.
I mean, I know a few of us have compared it to Gone Girl. I feel like it feels very much like Gone Girl. Obviously, in this show, we actually have a dead body, and Gone Girl, we won't give too many spoilers, obviously, but she's just missing, she's gone. But with that, I mean, you end up finding out both of those characters are kind of crappy people.
It's definitely a very unhealthy marriage on both ends.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like it could be doing something like that where, nobody ends up being your favorite person in the end. They all kind of end up being.
Yeah. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really cool. I think next week, when we're sitting here, we're probably going to be swallowing all of our words. And
we're going to be like, never mind.
Yeah, I totally didn't even say that.
I love Christy.
Delete that. So I think it'll be great.
Yeah. Well,
me too.
Speaking of, do we want to dive into some predictions for next week? Whoa.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV.
Gosh, I don't even know where to start.
Oh my God. Goodness.
All right.
I mean,
I have a couple.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so originally I was thinking, I'm very suspicious of Scott. If it's not Tyler, I'm just going to throw that out there. If it's not Tyler. Tyler has something to do. Tyler has something to do with this. No, for real, he does. Because usually, I don't know. I'm trying to think of that. I watched a movie. Never mind. I'm not even going to talk about it because I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, Tyler might be involved very much. But I think that I'm very suspicious of Scott. I feel like he knew already before this even happened that Ben was the father, and he, went on an episode, maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't, but it definitely seems like Ben was set up for it with the whole flashlight thing, it being missing. And if it's not Scott, then I am suspicious of Christy, because how many people knew where that flashlight was? If he is being set up, they had to know right where it was, how to make it,
I think Ben.
I'm going to say with Scott. I'm going to go with Scott right now, but I feel like that's also way too obvious.
That's the thing. I feel like Scott is being set up as the clear choice outside of Ben, and we all know Ben didn't do it. We have to know Ben didn't do it. So Scott's the next obvious choice. So I feel like it can't be him. I almost wonder if. Well, obviously things are gonna throughout the season unfold over what happened that night that he doesn't remember, and I feel like there's going to be some new sketchy characters that come into play based on that evening that kind of all are involved in this.
Right.
But as far as next week, I think Ben is going to get arrested, so some new evidence is going to happen. Maybe they find the flashlight. Maybe that's what he throws in the water. I don't know. I think that's going to be kind of the big thing that he gets.
I don't know. Okay, so I have 2 major different things that I think ultimately either happened. I think it's Christy, and that she somehow knew maybe Scott got to her because he knew about Tom, and then I feel like she is kind of straight Gone Girling him, and she's like setting it up herself. I don't know if maybe she and Scott are working together, but that to me could only be the explanation for her being so nonchalant about a lot of things. She does have a reaction over some things, but she just doesn't seem shocked enough whenever she hears stuff. So maybe it's just like, oh, okay, I don't know, because she's setting it up.
She knows.
And because she knew that he was her son, or he was Ben's son the entire time. Or I think that it was some sort of weird, crazy accident that has to do with the Tyler and the boy with the son that has special needs.
Yeah.
There's something about that situation that is
kind of weird.
Is weird to me. So I don't know. I kind of think that.
Yeah.
But I think next week we'll for sure get some more evidence. I don't know about the flashlight. I don't know. I don't know. Next week, more evidence. That's my prediction. Yeah. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say 100% that Scott didn't actually kill Tom because he's in the Army and he would just know, I think, how to cover up things better. And that's all I have.
I think regardless of what it is, it's definitely accidental because I just really do not want to believe that someone premeditated killed a 5-year-old. Like, I just think it's definitely accidental, whoever it was.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us this week for the first podcast for Secrets and Lies. Be sure to tune in next week. And until next week, where can we find you guys all online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Kate.
Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
And you can find me at Briche, CBRICHE.
And you can find me at Lauren Salaun, that's SALAUN, on all social media. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Be sure to comment, tweet us, you name it. Yeah.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.